Hello. Can you please stop now?
Hey guys, so today's video is going to be an introduction to the rich culture that is America. Before we do, here's a little history, a little cultural history. Before Europeans, Native Americans called America home. There were many different tribes, from the Iroquois to the Powhatan to the Comanche. The tribes lived in many parts of America and had different languages, customs, and means and ways of life. And then the Europeans came. First great wave of immigration from the 1600s to the early 1800s consisted of mainly white immigrants from Eastern Europe, most of whom were either British or Scottish or Irish, and forcibly removed Africans brought in as slaves. Europeans sought out America for its economic opportunities and political as well as religious freedom. They brought with them their people, crops, ideas, religions, and diseases. The French set up colonies in present-day Canada, the Spanish in present-day Mexico and southwest U.S., while England controlled the eastern coast. The population of the United States just grew from 13 million to 63 million between 1830 and 1890, and that period brings us to the second great wave of immigration. The second wave of immigration were mostly made up of Irish and the German. However, this wave differed from the last one in the sense that this was the wave that was met with open hostility and resistance by many Americans. Many different reasons contributed to this hostility and resistance shown by Americans towards immigrants. For example, immigrants had never before arrived in such large numbers in the U.S. However, in 1832, there was a sudden increase to 50,000 immigrants that year, and in 1854, there were 428,000. After the Civil War, 5.2 million arrived in the 1880s, and by 1890, almost 14% of Americans were not actually born in America. And so here are some reasons for the increase of migration. There were technological improvements made to transportation. The boats were made to go faster and better, which meant the cost was lower. War, famine, revolution, and unrest at home drove many Europeans from their homelands, and they chose to go to America. And finally, the American dream was a lure for many poor Europeans. And it was a good thing they came too, because they really boosted America's economy. Despite their positive impact on the American economy, immigrants still face a huge amount of backlash from Americans. One point of opposition was that most Americans were Protestant. However, many of second wave immigrants, especially those of Ireland, were Catholics. Furthermore, there was some economic resentment, as immigrants were seen as stealing jobs from Americans, driving down wages and increasing unemployment. Sounds familiar? Now we're going to talk about the third wave of immigration from 1890s to the 1920s. The third wave of immigration was also pretty different from the first two waves. The third wave was the first wave in which Southern and Eastern Europeans made up of a huge portion of immigrants. However, the sheer number of immigrants and the diversity led to a lot of xenophobic and nativist feelings and sentiments among Americans. For a lot of Southern and Eastern Europeans, they left their countries due to the population growth in Europe, as well as the lack of jobs, food, farmland, and the mechanization of agriculture. In the end, they picked America for its democracy, its land, its economic opportunities, and its freedom of religion. After World War I and the collapse of many European countries and economies, immigration swelled from 110,000 in the late 1910s to over 800,000 in 1921. This huge increase led to the 1921 Immigration Quota Act, which capped the number of immigrants that can come into the US from certain countries. On paper, this seemed like a very fair, unbiased law. However, a closer look at the law reveals the bias towards Southern and Eastern Europeans. The quotas for the 1921 Immigration Quota Act were based on 2% of the population of each nationality in the US in the 1890s. Thus, the number of Southern and Eastern Europeans who could immigrate to America after the 1921 Immigration Quota Act was minuscule compared to the number of British who could immigrate over, which was theoretically around 65,000 immigrants per year. Furthermore, the law also banned all immigration movements from Asia, while Canadians and Mexicans could freely come into the US, which dramatically changed the diversity of the country.
And now we have the fourth great wave of immigration from 1965 to present-day America. And this wave is by far the largest in American history in absolute numbers. And one of the main differences that separates this wave from previous waves is the large number of illegal immigrants as well as legal immigrants who currently reside in the US. In addition, the fourth wave is the most diverse wave yet, with over 70% of immigrants coming from Latin America and Asia. Most fourth wave immigrants have settled in either western states, California, southern states, Texas, or northeastern states, Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. Now, we're at present-day America, 325 million plus people, all residing within 50 states. America is fast becoming a rainbow society. Latinos may well comprise of 1 out of every 4 Americans. By 2050, Asian immigrants now comprise of nearly 10% of the population. Despite early hostility and resistance, America has now become a nation of immigrants, and the importance of immigration has slowly been recognized. However, in these current times, it is important to remember that while we may not have been born in the same country, while we may not have the same skin color, we are all Americans, and that is what counts.
Well, that's it for me this time, guys. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.